I am so excited to talk to Becca Moore today about her new book. Welcome, Becca. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Where we were just talking earlier about surviving the cold. It's just we're having a very cold moment where we
Yeah.
both are. But I'm so excited to be able to talk to you about your new memoir, Angel on a Bridge. And I have so many thoughts and so many questions for you. Um, and first of all, I just wish that I had a pair of stilettos because I would be wearing them while I talk to you because shoes and stilettos in particular are incredibly important in this book, right?
It's so true. Yeah. I said, I don't know if I could give up. The world was ending. I'd like take my shoes with me. It's my shoe game. I can't give up my shoe game.
It's so great because I remember like my mom in her closet that's she's a shoe person, so she had this like rows and rows and rows of shoes. I said, Mom, what are you gonna do with all these shoes? And she was like, I need them all. I was like, okay, I respect that.
Yeah.
um
How I feel.
yeah, but your book had me laughing, crying. I felt like I was watching like a really powerful, great movie. Your chapters flow so beautifully. Your writing is gorgeous. Um, I think that readers are gonna not believe what is in front of them, the story, the journey that you take them on. I'm getting ahead. Tell us about your book and why it was time for you to write it.
That's a great question. I love that you started with that. So, honestly, how the book started, I wish that you could have read that. And first of all, I want to give Carrie credit from the
Mm,
beginning
mm,
because, and Scott too, like really both of them, Scott introduced me to Carrie thanks to you. And
mm,
just the connection of having the community to inspire you to keep writing because this book really started in 2020, and then it kind of started as something different, and then it just kind of spun into
mm,
this, what it ended up. And Carrie, I did like a little session with her to kind of learn how to close your eyes and like visualize things and take yourself
mm.
back, which is sometimes hard. And just like, what did it taste like? What did it smell like?
Yeah.
What were your senses?
Mhm,
And then also being in writing classes with you and other fellow writers and listening to how they wrote and details really helped me write the book, I think. But it also inspired me to keep writing because when you're writing a memoir, I feel like you come to these points where you're like, I don't know if I can tell this story. Like you feel like,
totally.
do I really want to expose myself like that? Because everybody has this picture of you, the stilettos, the diva, nails done, lips
Hmm.
red. And are you ready to expose that side of you? And unfortunately, my mother passed away in August 1st, and she'd always said, she knew I'd been working on this book
Hmm.
because I had written a previous book, Massillon Against the World with Scott Ryan. And of course, it's completely different. It's an oral history. But that kind of, she was the first to read that book. And she's like, I think it's time. You need to finish.
Hmm.
And so, really, for the next 2 years, she really encouraged me. And I would read her things and, go to a class and read her things. And, when she was close to the end, she just said, I think it's time. And I took that as, okay, I'm going to finish. And I did, like 2 or 3 months later. So I think it was that inspired me to finish
Hmm.
it. But it's a work in progress, especially when you're going to be vulnerable to people's opinions behind the keyboards.
It's really hard. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's really hard to write a memoir. And I think that you go back to all kinds of points in your life. And so not just maybe in the Maslin time, right, when a lot of people might know you, but you go back all the way through your childhood and create these beautiful arcs all the way through. There's a great refrain of you getting suspended, kicked out, for expressing yourself, but also for advocating for students. Talk a little bit, and just people in general, talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that. I love every moment where I was like, here she goes, she's gonna do it. And I was like, do it, do it. Doesn't
I'm
matter.
glad
It's
you thought
okay.
that.
It's so
I'm so
good.
glad you thought that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I think the moments that you go through that make you stronger for the next moment.
Hmm.
So I really think everything led up to that. But I really think it was I'm adopted, so I go through that in the book too. But I
Hmm.
really think it was having my daddy, my adopted daddy, like just be like, you can be anything you want to be, but it comes at a cost, you know? So,
Mhm.
you know, what are you willing to pay for that to be what you want to be? And when you decide and you're like, okay, this is my line, I'm going to stick to this line, I'm not going to cross this line. How much are you willing to give up? Or to make sure you stay that line. So each thing that I go through was once I set that line, and I feel like I hit that in the book. Like once that was it for me, that was how I was going to live the rest of my life. Now, it took me a while to find that. It's not like I was like, oh, here I am. So I think people need to be patient too, with finding what your line is, because and it may change, um, given how society changes, and you maybe soften the things that were different, you know, 20, 30 years ago, or how your parents were raised. But I think it was really just having a foundation that daddy came in and kind of took over and inspired that, like, stand your ground, but just know there's consequences to standing your ground, and you have to be willing to accept that. And I was willing to accept that and make me stronger, I think.
Yeah, and lots of consequences, time and time
There was a lot
again,
of
a lot of
consequences.
them that you outline in the book. So many things that readers will just not know. And then they'll be like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And that's how the book reads. You're like, wait, and then this happened, and then what happened, and she did what? And this is,
Yeah.
I mean, it's this incredible unfolding, the scaffolding that you do. And from a craft perspective, it's like it's outstanding. Like I'm just so in awe of you as a writer. It was such an honor to read your book. And I
Oh,
didn't, I mean, it really truly was. It truly was.
I really do appreciate that, because I mean, it was hard. You know, my mom always read my stuff. So that means a lot to me, because she won't get to read this, you know.
Mm.
So I think she'd be very proud of that, because I drove them crazy too. And you'll see that in the book too. So and I probably still drive. My dad lives with us, so I think I sometimes still drive. He's like, "What today?" Because I just go and sit on his couch. He's like my built-in therapist, and I'm like, "You won't believe
Oh.
what happened today." And he's like, "I'm sure I won't."
Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. Have
So
you
yeah,
shared some of the book with him or has he read it to me?
I have not. So I
Okay.
only I kind of had this bond with my mom. It was kind of
Mm-hmm.
our thing. Like, she was this avid reader, and there's
Hmm.
books all over our house. And
Hmm.
she'd be doing the dishes and be reading a book. She'd be grading papers and reading a chapter. I mean, she was an avid reader and highly intelligent,
Hmm.
probably because she read so much. Because she was really good at reading historical fiction,
Oh,
and
wow.
she loved it, like the Amish love stories, or, you know, and calls the heart. But she also loved educated and religious
Hmm.
books, you know, memoirs and bibliographies. I mean, she was a phenomenal teacher. That she taught kindergarten and second grade, and so she wanted to teach the love of reading, and what it felt like to hold a book. So I really shared most of that with her, but I told Daddy, I said, "You're gonna have to be the first one to read the book." So, you know, like the book, like holding
The
it,
actual book
the
itself.
actual book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So no, I have not, and so I'll be curious. I've kind of like tried to prepare him. Like it's he is from, you know, my dad is 92, so he is from the silent era, I guess they would say. Like, you know, you just handle everything with grace and dignity, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't say your opinion or whatever, and you go about your business. So maybe I'll get something. Maybe I'll just get a. It's nice. I'm okay with that, because that means good job.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny. That's so funny. I know I can't wait to hold my physical copy too. We're recording this when I just have the digital press copy, which is great, but I can't wait to like hold the actual and
Yeah,
like see that. There's something about just like holding a tangible book.
yeah,
I don't know. I can't read digital stuff. I
yeah,
mean like ebooks and stuff. I just
yeah.
want to hold. I
There
want
will
the
be an
paper.
ebook. There will be an ebook in Kindle. There will be both of those. I like Audible books,
Oh
because
yeah.
I drive a lot. You know, actually, my son just transferred to the University of Connecticut, so I'll be making my list of Audibles driving back and
Yay! That's so
forth.
exciting.
Yeah, so that's exciting. And
Yeah.
so, um, I do. So I did record an audible of it too. And then my uncle, who's my mom's brother, can no longer read. He's going blind.
Mm.
And so, like, I did it for him and for those
Mm.
people that
Yeah.
maybe they can't read and they're at home. And I hope this book inspires them. So I want them to hear it too. And I wanted it to be my voice so
Yes.
they understood that this means a lot to me. And I hope that that will inspire them knowing that I read it for them.
And you recorded it. I hope it's okay. I'm outing you. You
Yes. Yeah.
recorded the entire book in like 2 days.
2.5 days is like a crazy person.
That's, but that's so indicative of who you are that comes out in this book, where it's like she did what, and then what, and then what, and then she recorded this entire book in 2.5 days. Yeah, it's unbelievable, and it is. We just believe because it's you, and because you can do. This is what you do. I can't wait to hear it. I also love listening to your voice, and when I listen to Massillon Against the World, it's so that's also on Audible book,
Yeah.
audiobook, so folks can get that too. But yeah, I can't wait to hear this one. I wanted to say, like, it's funny that you and I are talking. I mean, we know each other, but I know nothing about sports like football or basketball or even running, which I know is very important to you. So it's like just very funny. It's so integral to like you and your family and things like that. And so what I want to say to people who may be watching or listening is that you don't need to know anything about sports to embrace and devour and have this book go into the pores of your skin,
Oh.
because it's not about that. It's a part of it, but it's not about that. It Maslin is a part of it, but it's not the heart of the book. It's you. And so I just wanted to say that it's just a beautiful memoir. And also, it's not about Nate being a coach. It's about Nate being a coach, but your partner, a parent, the two of you as a couple. Um, and it's just so beautiful to read that sort of the humanness of all of it, right? Um, and I just appreciated that so greatly. I I wanted to, there were some parts where I actually said, oh my goodness, what my notes were like, WTF, like what? So like you got engaged to Nate after dating him for 2 months?
Yes, isn't that
Oh my good. Tell me about that. Like,
and we're going 21 years. How crazy is that?
congratulations.
Yeah, we were babies.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So, yeah, I mean, I think you when you know, you know. I like
Mhm,
never believed that, but
mhm.
my grandma Combs like always said that, and I was like, whatever. Like, and like I like, and you'll see this in the book. Like, I never planned on getting married. It wasn't my thing.
Mhm.
I was afraid to have kids, like I didn't know if I wanted to do that. And so like, yeah, so Nate, he was the dude. I guess he just his mystery, and we are so different. We are very different.
Mhm.
So sometimes, I do think that that balances us out a lot.
Mhm.
But sometimes he has to like, and he's very good at it. Sometimes he just has to like swallow it because I was like, just remember, this is what you married. Like, there's no changing now. But yeah, 2 months, I just think I knew in my heart and I
Mhm.
felt it in my gut, and I didn't believe in butterflies, but I honestly, that's what I felt when I met him. And
Mhm.
so I did. I called my best friend Hannah and I was like, something's different. And
Mhm.
the plan was always to go back to the country, to another country and teach and just kind
Mhm.
of travel and live my life that way until my parents got older. And then I had planned to come home, but that's not what happened.
Mhm. It's
They're,
not happen
they're,
when you fall. When you fall, you fall, and then you
yeah,
follow that,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you know, you know. That's so sweet. And it must have been his guitar playing.
It was his guitar playing. Yeah, I mean, a 6'5" guy playing the guitar can kind of melt you, I guess,
Of
if
course.
you're into that kind of thing. But it was fun to see him, and I will say, probably subconsciously, like looking back, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna have kids, if I think I want to do it, this would be the guy who I think I
Mm.
could do it.
Hmm.
Because my mom always wanted me to have kids. She always thought I'd be a good mom. But you just second guess yourself when you've lived through some things and you worry about the world labels you as a statistic. And I was very conscious of that my whole life. Still am, like
Uh-huh.
still think about those things. So yeah, so that was like, oh, maybe I won't be if I like I said, there's consequences to everything. Consequences for having children,
Yes,
which is a
consequence.
good consequence. Does not consequence doesn't always mean bad.
Right, right. Yes, yes. Yeah, aw. And speaking of having children, am I remembering this right that you went back to work after maybe after having Eli, you went back
Yeah,
to work like 2 weeks
I did.
after giving birth?
We had no money. Like we had no money, and it. What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, again, Daddy comes and saves the day, and watch. He's retired, so he watches Eli, and him and Eli are like this now. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they always have been. Did he put his diapers on backwards almost every day? Yes, he did. But I mean, whatever. Who cares? I never said anything. But he was so, things that aren't in the book, like for example, Eli would not take bottles, and I was breastfeeding, so my dad would bring him up to the school every day and I would feed him,
Wow.
so like it was because he was a preemie, like he had to, he had issues and he
Mm-hmm.
was young. So it's just things like that make me really respect Daddy, and just,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to do that because I had the support at
Yeah.
that point in my life too. Not everybody would have been able to do that. So, but we survived.
It's just another one of those, like the ride that this book takes you on is just another one of those moments where you're like,
Yeah.
what? She did what? Like,
I don't recommend it though. I don't recommend
yeah,
it.
let's if possible, let's not. But you
Yeah.
know, um, you mentioned there's a lot, there's a lot of your childhood. Sort of the first part is a lot around a lot of the challenges, the struggles, and also a lot of the trauma. There's probably my favorite and the most beautiful quote in the whole book for me, because it's not just about trauma and horrible things and survival, but it's also about resiliency and strength and power and love. But when you talk about trauma, you say, when you live in fear, days blur into each other like rain against glass. I've never heard anyone describe trauma that way because it makes things blurry and distorted and blended. And it's really hard to write that way. Again, like on a personal level, it just pulls you in. But on a craft level, you're like, what? This is amazing.
Mhm.
Um, what was it like to write some of those parts?
When I wrote that, I was thinking about like picturing, like I kept saying, I want to get out of this. Like there's got to be a way out. And
Mhm.
when it rains, what do? You look out the window and you're a kid and you want to play outside. But what does when it's like really raining, what does it do? It's blurry. You can't see outside. And I think that's what life is like sometimes. Like
Mhm.
even if you're not crying, but you're going through it, it's blurry. Everything's blurred. Your lines are blurred, making the right choices blurred, and you just don't know what to do. But the rain always passes. It eventually quits raining, you know, and it's what you do after it stops raining, or
Mhm.
when you can see clearer. So that's kind of where that came from. Is is you have to wait out the storm, to figure it out.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, the childhood stuff that you go into that you're not afraid to go into is sort of a classic cycle of violence stuff. And also coming from a history of that and growing up myself. I really loved how you talked about being marked, not broken. It's a refrain also in the book, which I think is so beautiful and empowering. Could you talk a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so I think really that did come from therapy. So I did
Awesome.
get counseling. My parents were really good about that, like seeing it and understanding. So I talk a lot about my pastor Lawson, and then I had
Hmm.
on top of that, him kind of being my spiritual guide. I had a therapist too, and I just remember them both like and I'm not sure that they use the words that you're not broken, but I did always feel marked, one, because of losing your innocence so young,
Hmm.
but two, I just never felt completely broken. People, I think they believe, or I don't think they should believe. They believe they're broken.
Hmm.
And so when people think they're broken, they think I'm unfixable. And I think that's why it leads to making decisions that not only impact yourself but others. If it, kind of read into that. I don't want to, but
Yeah.
you make an irrash decision that nobody loves you, that nobody could love you because you're broken. But if
Hmm.
you're marked, it's just like tattoos. You have short sleeves on, but I have long sleeves on. So you could have tattoos if you wanted. If you're marked, you can learn to cover that, or you can choose to take it off. If you're marked
Hmm.
and you're like, oh well, I'm not marked anymore. Or this tattoo meant something and now it doesn't, so I take it off. So
I like that.
through having a therapist and then having my spiritual guide, Pastor Lawson, um, I felt like maybe they use the words, I don't think they ever use the words broken. So I kind of came up with more, well, we're marked. We're all marked by something. And I just think marked seems so much better than broken
Yeah.
because a mark you can wipe away, you can wash away. It takes time, you know. So, and even tattoos, don't they fade if you don't take care of them?
That's right. Yeah.
Things fade.
Hmm.
So marks can fade, whereas when you're broken, you can never maybe put yourself back together. But
Yeah.
marks, you can kind of wipe it away, and maybe, and I've got, I still have to remind myself to live like that. That you're not
Hmm.
broken. When things go wrong and you have a loss, you feel broken maybe, but you're not. You're just, it's another mark that you have to live through and you
Yeah.
learn to accept.
Yeah, right. So like some of the marks we might try to wipe off, but maybe they do stay with us in some way because they help shape who we are, right?
Hmm.
Like we become fierce, we become powerful because of the shit we've been through,
Yeah.
essentially, right? And I think I think this book tells that story so beautifully. Like you may be marked, like it is part of us, it's part of our history, it's part of our
Hmm.
story, but it doesn't, you know, here's a beautiful quote: where you come from shapes you, but it doesn't chain you. Flashbacks may visit, but they don't get to decide your future. You do.
Yeah.
That's a mic drop. Come on with that. There's so many amazing mic drops in this book.
Yeah.
When I was pulling out quotes I love, there's so many. I have a whole like 2 pages of just quotes that are like phenomenal like that, like t-shirt quotes. I just want on t-shirts to remind myself.
Yeah. I know. I think too, I think it came into play, taking the class and everything and writing. But Scott and I were talking about this because I wanted a quote with each chapter that
Mhm.
kind of like when you finish the chapter, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Well, when I was very young, I started a quote book. So whether I cut it
Oh,
out of Teen Vogue, Teen Magazine,
love that.
like and I think my until my parents moved here, they still had them. I think we finally like threw them away, but like I have, I mean, journals and journals of just quotes. And now I put
Mhm.
it in my phone in notes. If I see a good quote or hear a good quote, I put it in there. And when I'm having a bad day, I go back and look at those quotes.
I
And
love that.
so I did that, long before there was social media. I had quote books. People have sticker books. I might have had some sticker books too, but I had a lot of quote books. And I really think that stems from my grandma Combs. She was big on Bible verses and using
Hmm.
them as quotes,
Hmm.
and kind of a guidance to life and your moral character. But she was kind of a quote too. And so like one of the quotes that was huge for her, and I was just looking at the Bible she gave me, it was this like, only one life, it'll soon be past, only what's done for others will last. So like you have to remember quotes like that and why you're here and stuff. It's not always about yourself. So quotes do play a huge part. So I want people, I'm glad that you got that from that because that makes me happy that you were able to pull something like
Absolutely.
that because that's what I want people to be like, yes, and I'm going to write this down and I'm going to put it on my mirror or say it to myself every day
Hmm.
so that I can make myself stronger because speaking it I think also helps it.
I agree with that. From a therapeutic lens, saying it out loud, giving yourself affirmations and reminders. And that one that you had just mentioned from your grandma is really, I think, what you live by. And I feel like the book only barely scratches the surface, probably, of the amount that you do for other people. all
Oh,
day, every day, Becca. And I think that probably a lot of people in the community have no idea.
yeah,
And this book will show some of that. And you're not looking for anything. You're not looking for accolades, nothing. You're literally saying, and I woke up and I did this, and we did this, and we
yeah.
invited this person in to stay with us because this is what was needed, because that's what they needed to do. I helped this student this way because no one else was doing it. It's just your whole life is that. And I don't think that people know or see or understand or appreciate that. And I do. And I think that this book is finally a way for you to have in a place something that outlines some just
Yeah.
again minutia thing, but also these really 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 big things, these big moments. And I'm thinking specifically about Thayer and Terrence and TK. Those are the really powerful stories in the book, and people in your lives, in your family. And I know that um particularly with Thayer, which is a big part of the story, I'm really curious. It's very big, and I'm curious how it was for you to go back through all of that, and write it all.
That one was difficult.
Mhm.
I won't give it away too much, but I
Mhm.
will say that it was the last two chapters that I wrote. So I had like the bones of it and kind of ran it by mommy. And I
Mhm.
know that Eli, our son, is struggling with those chapters because it's tough to relive it and think about it. But
Mhm.
we're really excited about where he is in his life. And
Mhm.
actually, he plays for the New England Patriots. They're still in the playoffs, so has a
What?
chance to win the Super Bowl.
Oh
So
my gosh,
how
wow.
crazy would that be? Um, so we'll see. Uh, they may, so that was tough when you have to really relive something that you've poured your heart into and it didn't turn out maybe the way you wanted or you thought it was going to turn out.
Mhm.
That's okay too. Because again, like I said at the beginning of the interview, you got to find your line and stick to your line and do what you say you're going to do and accept the consequences. And that's what we had to do.
Mhm.
So, yeah, those were tough. Those were tough. Last two. Those were the last two chapters. And then of
Uh,
course the prologue, the night I did the prologue. So,
um, I think that, well, I don't know what the process was like for you, but I could imagine that going through and writing all of that history was really hard, but also perhaps really therapeutic, like important and therapeutic
mhm.
for you to include in the book, and as part of, yeah, this memoir showing who you are. You are all of these people's angel on the bridge.
That's nice of
It
you.
is, there's such a beautiful lineage here, because you talk about who are some of your angels, and then
Yeah.
you are so many people's angels. And those people will be other people's angels because of what you have given and offered, the way that you were given and offered that as well. So I just see this beautiful, like, ancestral lineage of, this ethos of your grandma's quote of doing
Mhm.
things for other people is the thing that matters most.
Yeah. And I think too, like, and I put this in there too, like, just because you do great things doesn't mean that you won't also experience great loss too. So I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was important to put um, in the book towards the end of the ones that left
Mm-hmm.
holes in your heart, let's say, that
Mm-hmm.
made that made an impact but didn't turn out the way that you hoped or how you planned. So that was difficult too, but I thought it was really important to pay tribute and for people to understand, like you said, like, oh my goodness, you're doing all this stuff. But again, like Daddy says, it also comes with consequences. Like you might find your heart broken
Mm-hmm.
and it might end in a way that leaves you with a void and not being able, sitting in a room, not being able to say anything when you wish you could. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm really glad you included all of that too. And just a reminder that things Life is life and things don't work out sometimes. And people, we may help them and offer things to them, and then they still may go on whatever path they're on, right? Like
Hmm.
there's only so much we can do. A reminder of just what we have control over and what we don't, um, and also I appreciate that you were honoring these people who really left such a they're an important part of your heart,
Yes.
and I'm glad you included them. Um, I wanted to ask you about this moment where your life changed when Nate became the head coach at LaSalle, because all of a sudden y'all were in the public spotlight in a way that
Yeah.
you hadn't been before.
Yeah.
Tell me about that moment.
Yeah, that was, we were in this little town, Minster, one by one. You like it was like living in the movie Pleasantville. I don't know how else to describe it. That's what it was like. I mean, it was the perfect place, I guess you could say. And we're still great friends with a lot of people there. They mean a lot to me, and they were important in Nate's journey. And so, yeah, when you walk into LaSalle, and then they have their own radio station, and then there's cameras everywhere. And even though LaSalle they're part of the GCL, which is the Greater Catholic League, it's a big deal to get that job at such a young age. And so I think people were very curious of how we were going to handle the media pressure. And so the media was there immediately, and that was that. So that was probably I mean, yeah, it was, Ella was little, so she would like put this little bunny in her mouth. And I remember thinking, well, every picture is going to have her with the bunny in the mouth. So I'll just focus on that and not what anybody else is saying, because she's going to be like, Mom, why'd you let me leave that bunny in my mouth?
That's so fun. That's hilarious and so smart.
Yeah, yeah. But I do love, I looked back at pictures when I was writing that part of the story so that I could like kind of re-get a sense of it. And seeing our nephew on the stage with Eli with their mouths to the microphone pretending like they're Nate, I realized then too, probably then, living in the public eye, you've got to be really careful what you say and do. And when you do mess up, because you always will, which you find I do, um, you need to teach your kids how to handle that. And you need to be able to handle it with grace and dignity so that it doesn't eat you up. And I think that really did prepare me for coming to Massillon
Mm-hmm.
and taking on Massillon. But making that decision, I think right then and there was like, no matter what is said, no matter, because I knew I would mess up or be judged, I'm going to make sure my kids understand it, and then also watch how I handle it. And my daughter is now, she's 14, going to be 15 in February, and she handles things a lot better than a lot of other girls her age, because from a young age, I was like, this is what people are saying about me, and this is how I feel about it, like, and this is how I'm going to handle it. So, and teaching them that you can't control what others say or type about you. You got to keep your circle tight.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it was a great aha moment. I think like, here we go. So yeah,
And you were ready for it. I mean,
yeah,
in some ways you were like, wait, what? We are in this
yeah,
Pleasantville. Why do we want to leave this
yeah,
Pleasantville sweet
yeah,
town where we're settled? And then in other ways you were sort of like ready for it from the very beginning.
yes, that's true. If you heard us screaming, that's my son on his game.
Oh,
He
oh my
must
God,
have
that's
just
perfect.
he must have just got taken out or something.
Oh my God, that's so funny. That's so funny. That reminds me that I laughed out loud multiple times in the book, but what the most hilarious time, and I don't want to give away the whole story, but was
Yeah,
if you want to tell
yeah,
it, but
yeah,
Eli and the tights.
yeah. He's Dennis the Menace at that age.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, if you want
It's
to
so funny.
know that I was afraid that I was going to be turned into children's services, thank you, Eli Moore, because the hospital literally knew me my name. They're like, "Well, welcome back, Mrs. Moore." I'm like, "Thank you." They're like, "Room 6." So, yeah, like watching Eli grow up through this book is actually into what he becomes is unbelievable. But definitely Dennis the Menace. So if you want a good laugh and you think your kids are Dennis the Menace, let's see if you can top my story with Eli and the Tights. And email me that story because I want to hear it. I want to read it.
It's so good. It just feels like, and that balance, Becca, you do so well in the book of like telling truths, telling hard truths, not, talking about trauma, talking about adversity, and like all of these ridiculous, unjust systems of power and oppression that you go through. And then there's this beautiful balance of levity that
Yeah,
happens. And you're such an incredible writer that it all, like I said at the very beginning, it all just reads so smoothly. Like I read the whole thing in like 3.5 hours. It's
that's crazy.
so, it's
Yeah,
so, but okay, well, you just recorded the book in 2.5 days. No, but no, it's
yeah.
it's so it's just like a beautiful, smooth ride.
Hmm.
And even though it's about hard things, it's a beautiful balance. And like I said, there are football things. Okay, everybody, there are football things,
There
and
are,
there's also, running things and other sport things. Listen to me, I don't even know what I'm saying. I don't have the language to even tell. So if that's part of your excitement about reading the book, you should read those parts. But also, if you are like me and you have no idea, um, you will get so much from the book. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful memoir. And you left me wanting more too. You left me wanting more.
that's awesome. Yeah. I know. I said to Scott, I said I probably could write a whole another book like if I were a man or something. Like just kind of
Hmm.
like the oppression of being what labeled as a woman, and then like it's different. It's different in this world. So there is a lot of things I left out when we were editing the book. I'm like, oh, I didn't tell this story, or oh, I didn't tell, because I keep receipts and I do journal a lot. So like I keep a lot written down, or just even living in Thailand for a year. I mean, I have journals and journals of my crazy adventures over there. Um, so there's things like that that you're like, oh well, yeah. And Scott says I put too many pictures in, but I have so many more pictures. I could have just do a picture
God, don't
book.
listen to him. He doesn't know. Your pictures are perfect, and I loved seeing them. I love being able to put, because some of the folks I didn't know or hadn't seen pictures of, and it was really nice to see that, and to see that really cute picture of you and Hannah in Thailand.
Yeah,
I think you are like, it's
yeah,
so sweet to see those parts of your life. So I think readers will be really excited, right? And probably a lot of people don't know that you were ever in Thailand, right?
yeah.
There's sort of what they know maybe in a public persona way, but then there's all of these other parts of you that get to be told in these stories, and they're amazing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to more the next book. Um, the other thing that really vibrates so beautifully from this book is how how much of an incredible educator you are.
Thank
That
you.
an advocate, yes. A fierce stiletto wearing, no nonsense, yes, but also an athlete, yes, but also thank you for being the teacher that you are and that you've always been all along the way on your path. I can I can feel it from you when I talk to you and I know you, but also reading some of the things that you do in order to reach the kids that you work with. I'm curious if you wanted to speak about your experience, some of that, and also just to say thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you. And you have to remember where you came from. And I didn't always want to be an educator. And because everyone in my family is, I mean, if you go to our family reunion, they're like, how many of you are teachers or superintendents or, in the administration? It's literally more than a half of our family. So, I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't care about summers off or whatever. But what greater job is there if you really want to serve, if you really want to
Mhm.
make a difference, and really, if you feel like you were labeled a statistic, if you want to give kids hope that they're not a statistic,
Mhm.
that they can be something else, don't listen to society or how society labels you or anything like that. You can be who you want to be. Um, so that was important to me. And as I got into education and I met Nate and we got married fast, I also realized I wasn't super equipped to deal with what kids were dealing with. And I wanted to give myself the most knowledge. Now, my mom taught for 42 years and she was a plethora of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's why I went back and got a master's in school counseling because I wanted to bring that into my classroom, not to be a counselor, but to be able to be like, let's do social stories or group stories and then build that relationship with the kids. And then I rarely had behavior problems in my classroom. I actually usually got most of the behavior kids because, I was able to build that, take the tools that I learned as I was getting my license to be a guidance counselor. So um, I attribute a lot of that to again having a therapist, having a spiritual liaison and mentor, and wanting to give kids hope and taking in every bit of knowledge that I could, um, and doing the professional development. So as an educator, I pride myself in being the best. I want to give 110%. And sometimes that turns people off. And to this day,
Sure.
because, I would say Nick Saban, again, quotes, was a Alabama head coach for a long time, but he has one of the best quotes. He said, mediocre people don't like high achievers, and high achievers don't like mediocre people. So sometimes as an educator, it would get me in trouble because I couldn't understand why people didn't want to work harder when I was a teacher or didn't want to work harder when I was a guidance counselor.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you want to work with this kid?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so um, I do pride myself in always trying to educate myself to get like I'm coaching girls flag football. I didn't play flag football, but I'm taking all the classes and doing all the things and surrounding my people who are knowledgeable, besides my husband
Uh-huh.
on football, but because I want to have an impact on those girls.
Yeah.
Um, so here's a great thing. They're actually doing a play like a girl at the museum, and they're featuring the first ever girls flag football team in Massillon. And I am so excited about
Congratulations.
it.
Yes, it's so exciting.
Yeah, so it comes out in March, but this
Hmm.
is what I'm most excited about, and this is where it ties back to education. So we chose some girls that they like featured, and one of my favorite quotes was from this girl named Karis. We call her Snoop. She's awesome. She's like 5 foot nothing and just a firecracker. And she said, "What I love about flag football is that it taught me discipline, so I'm more disciplined in the classroom and in my grades and at school." And that to me is what a true educator is.
Mm-hmm.
You inspire kids to understand that their education and knowledge is power, whether they go on to a trade or they go to college, whatever. But they understand that how important that having knowledge is. So to me, that's what brought me back first full cycle to back to being a good educator.
That's so amazing. That's beautiful. It's beautiful because it's like meeting her. I mean, I think a big part of it is meeting the students where they're at and then seeing what they need, right? And
Hmm.
not just thinking like it's a one size fits all, like, here, we'll just do this lesson.
Yeah.
What? No, you need to understand who is there and what they need. And then she's getting this very specific skill and support through playing that
Mm,
then cycles back into how shows up in the class. That's beautiful.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And I was excited to see that. So, and I'm excited for the girls because they're going to
Yeah.
be in a museum. So,
I mean, come on. This is another like I'm surprised and not surprised knowing you and reading this book. Like here it is, it's fabulous. And so they're having their season, they're about to play. Is this right?
so yeah, so we're like in preseason.
Preseason.
So, we are like 3 days a week, just going like we put what's called in, like you put in your plays and you're learning plays and kind of seeing where everybody is and conditioning. So like you're conditioning yourself, you're making yourself tough, to be able to handle the playing time. And I enjoy it. So like I have girls that want to do extra work. So Sunday after practice, then we go lift, and then Wednesday morning at 5 o'clock, we're in the gym lifting like crazy people, you know. So I really enjoy it because you get to see them outside the field
Mhm.
too, and then we have like a goal for our GPA to be 3.5 and above as our team. so that we do like a whole GPA team thing.
Mm.
It's really fun to see girls encouraging girls.
Hmm.
Don't see that much anymore. I feel like sometimes I
Totally.
live in the Mean Girls movie.
Mm.
Like even as an adult, I'm
Yeah.
like people just love to be mean,
Hmm.
So it's really fun, and I hope it takes I take from Maine down to Florida and Florida across I mean, it's already in Florida and California, but all the states in between because it really is a positive experience for the girls, and I think it makes them tougher in the classroom too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I mean, yes, 100%. Um, so the last thing that I wanted to say is or ask you is that if you had any like messages for maybe teens or adults who, but particularly girls, women who have been through trauma, and then like abuse and consistent disrespect and unjust,
Yeah.
like a series of like adversity, the way that you have and dealing with this world of injustices, like any like thoughts or messages that you would have for them.
Yeah. I think that you should get up every morning and you should look at yourself in the mirror. And I actually still do this with myself when
Mhm.
when my job gets tough, because it does. And
Mhm.
I say, the trauma does not define you. The trauma does not get to dictate your feelings anymore. You are going to do that and you're going to go out there and give your best. Whether today it's only 10% and tomorrow it's 100. So today you're going to live and be the best version of you that you can possibly be. Maybe that's not good enough for other people, but that's good enough for you. And then the next day you're going to start over. But trauma doesn't define you. What you do with that trauma and what you're able to do for others does. So go be the light for somebody else, and that will help the trauma go. I think it will help the trauma fade,
Mhm.
because you learn to find your purpose,
Mhm.
and there's a purpose for everybody on this planet. So go do that.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Last but not least, what is your current favorite pair of heels or stilettos and why?
My current, well, I have these Jessica Simpson stilettos that I love. They're black.
Jessica Simpson?
I
Like
love
Jessica
Jessica.
Simpson? Jessica
Yes,
Simpson?
I love Jessica Simpson stilettos.
Amazing.
Yeah, they're actually comfortable.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I have a pair of black Jessica Simpson stilettos. It's a little too cold here right now, but I
Yeah,
will
yeah.
say I wore them to Florida, and Scott and his wife Jen were like, "Do you think she'll get off the plane in stilettos?" Yes, I did. And then when I went back, I was like, I got to wear them back because I just brought a little backpack because I wasn't down there long, and people were looking at me shaking their heads because I'm coming back to this cold. And the guy on the plane goes, "Girl, you better cover those tootsies." I said, "I got a pedicure." I said, "So that I could wear these in Florida. I'm not covering these tootsies." And he laughed. But so they're black, and then they are sparkles, because
Mm,
I always try to even if you don't see, I got like sparkles on my. I always try to have
mm.
something sparkly on.
Love that.
So like when I'm having in the middle of the day, I'm like, well, at least that's sparkling.
Love that.
So yeah, so they have sparkles on them, but those are probably my favorite pair right now. But I do love when it's really cold like this. I do love my thigh high boots.
Oh,
So I do have
yes.
a nice pair of black, and then of course sparkly gray, silver ones, and then I have gold ones too. So you know,
Do
so
you
when
ha
I want to really shine, you literally can see your face in them. They're that shiny. So when I'm in some of my classrooms, the kids are like, like they're like, because they can see their face in them. So it's a lot of fun. So those are definitely my three favorite pairs of shoes right now.
I'm obsessed. Thank you for sharing that. I was like, I can't wait to ask her these questions about like
Yeah,
what's on the docket right now.
I've got like orange ones on right now, little orange booties.
So cute. Despite the cold, you show
Yeah.
up fashionable. So this is why I was like, God, I don't even have any high heels. What am I gonna, I just feel like, oh gosh, I didn't prepare. I didn't think, anyway.
It
I,
works.
I
Works.
appreciate you. I
Yeah.
appreciate everything that you shared. And I feel so honored to be able to talk to you about Angel on a Bridge. And I cannot wait for people to have this in whatever format you is best for you. I can't wait to hold the actual book, but also I also can't wait to hear your beautiful voice reading it and telling these stories. And also I support people in their ebook journeys. There's no judgment here. It's not for me, but I support you in that. And it's great to know that there's different offerings for
Yeah.
this. And so when officially, Becca, is the book coming out? When can we expect it?
So you can expect it the 1st of March. We're hoping to get them out actually maybe even a little bit sooner since we got done faster than we thought. So, but they'll definitely be to your doorstep by the 1st of March. I'm really particular, like I want to sign everyone. So like if you pre-order them, I definitely will sign them for you. Now, if you live around Massillon, we plan to do a couple signings around here so you can pick up a book then. Or, but I do hope you pre-order it because I like to leave different notes to different people. I
Oh,
don't want to leave the
sweet.
same note. I want
That's
different
very
inspiration
sweet.
to different people. So, please feel free to order, pre-order one. If you don't, you don't, but I do like to sign them for you. So that's my favorite thing to do. So hopefully it no later than the 1st of March, but you may find them at your doorstep at the end of February.
I can't wait. I think I was like, I think I prided myself on being like the second or maybe like, I was in like the top 10 people to order to
Yes,
pre-order or
you were
something.
number two. My sister
I,
beat you.
oh, good. I respect that. I'm glad sister got number one, but I'm so glad I was in the second spot. Okay, good. That's
Yeah,
fabulous.
I appreciate you.
Oh
Well,
my
thanks for
goodness.
having me on. This was great. You asked
Mhm.
very insightful questions, and I appreciate you like taking the time to read it, and really get to the depth of it because that's important to me.